Hey, what's going on, guys? Goose here, coming back at you on the video. And if you're new to the channel, if you just come across my channel, make sure you subscribe to it, ring the notification bell, click all notifications, give the video a thumbs up as we do a lot of sports stuff on here, sports content, NBA, NFL, college football, Major League Baseball. Kind of been just in a funk right now with no live sports going on, but the draft is coming up, so I do plan on streaming for the draft. Of course, I cannot show the draft, so don't ask. But I will be streaming for the draft, watching the draft. So if you want to come and hang out, watch the draft, hey, doesn't matter who you pull for. All right, so Oklahoma, they have to replace their quarterback, Jalen Hurts. They got to replace Kenneth Murray, C.D. Lamb. So they have some players to replace. Looks like Spencer Rattler is going to be the quarterback for Oklahoma going into the 2020 season. Kennedy Brooks looks like he's going to be the running back. And they go like I said, they're gonna have to replace C.D. Lamb. That's a who's a big part of their offense last season. C.D. Lamb probably going to be the #1 receiver taken in the draft. On most boards, he's listed #1, but you never know how teams are going to pick. I mean, some other team might pick another receiver above him, but I think C.D. Lamb is probably the best receiver in the NFL draft coming up. But so Oklahoma have some stuff to replace on their roster, but hey, when you recruit at a high level, um, it just you just plug people in because they have Spencer Rattler is a good quarterback, very highly rated. So and of course Lincoln Riley is a good offensive mind. So a lot of talk about him maybe going to the Cowboys this past offseason, but he decided to stay in Norman for the Sooners. So the Sooners won the 2019 Big 12 title. They went to the playoff again, lost the playoffs again as they got blown out again by, and this time an SEC school. They got beat by, they lost to Clemson, Alabama, Georgia, now LSU in the playoffs. So Oklahoma's still looking for that first playoff victory. All right, let's look at the schedule as they have Missouri State on the schedule. I'll go on briefly, maybe give a somewhat of a prediction. It's kind of hard with no spring ball to go on. But they got Missouri State to start the season. Missouri State, no reason to talk about that game, as that's just a tune-up game to start the season. Was they play Tennessee week #2. Tennessee finished the season 8-5 last season. They went to a bowl game, won their bowl game against Indiana. Could be a interesting game. Depends on how Tennessee is in the offseason, or how much they improve, because Tennessee they had a struggle at the beginning of the year in 2019, but they came on strong, made the bowl game, and they won their bowl game. All right, next on the list, let's see. We have to go. They're going to Army. Add Army. Wow. I wish more schools would do that. I wish LSU would do this, to go up to Army, up to West Point. That would be a very cool trip to go see the cadets. Walk down in West Point. I've always heard that a game in Army is always something you should go see, and Oklahoma is giving their fans the opportunity to do that. All right, so then they got to play the Baylor Bears. The Baylor Bears. Here comes the Big 12 season for Oklahoma as they play 9 regular season games. I think SEC is the only one that plays 8, I believe. I think SEC is the only one that plays 8 conference games. All right, so Baylor, of course, they have to replace a lot. They're replacing Matt Rule, as Matt Rule led Baylor to the Big 12 title game last season. Of course, they lost. They lost to Oklahoma in the Big 12 championship game. But so Baylor Bears, new coaching staff. Interesting to see what happens with the Baylor Bears. All right, next on the list is the Texas Longhorns. Here's the annual the Red River Shootout. I mean, can you call it that anymore? I don't know. People get offended when you say shootout. Anyway, so Texas Longhorns, they're 8-5. Sam Ehlinger coming back for his senior season, as Texas had a lot of injuries last year after the first half of the season. They stumbled to an 8-5 season. So if Texas can stay healthy, if Texas is healthy at this point in the season, it's probably going to be one of the better games of the year in college football. Then they got to go to Ames, Iowa, to play Iowa State. Iowa State, it's always something they always seem to pull off an upset up there, or play somebody, maybe not always win in Ames, but they always seem to play somebody tough up there in Ames, Iowa. As Iowa State was 7-6 last season, so Oklahoma going on the road to Ames, Iowa. You never know how those road games are going to turn out. in conference play. But this is a game Oklahoma probably should win. Hands down. But you never know. Then they have to play their Bedlam game against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State was 8-5 last year. As the mullet, he's still there. He's been there since Les Miles left in the 2005 season. He's been there for a very, very long time. So interested to see how that game turns out. Oklahoma State always seems to play them tough every now and again, but this but this is probably a game Oklahoma should win, right? All right, then they got back-to-back road games in conference at TCU, at West Virginia. Both those teams finished 5-7. TCU, TCU's kind of, they stumbled last year. Usually they have under Gary Patterson. Usually they are a little better than that, but they just I don't know. TCU seem like they've fallen off last few years. Same as West Virginia, 5-7. West Virginia's been in the Big 12 for some reason. They're way out there on the eastern coast over there in West Virginia. Why they're in the Big 12? I guess they had to find somebody to take them. I don't think the ACC wanted them. Of course, the Big East dissolved, and they had to find some place to go, so they went to the Big 12. All right, then they had to play Kansas State next. Kansas State finished 8-5 last season. This is a home game for Oklahoma. Kansas State beat Oklahoma last year, so this is a revenge game for Oklahoma, as they're going to look to maybe get some revenge against the Wildcats. All right, then they have a home game against Kansas. The Mad Hatter. The Mad Hatter comes to Norman. Mad Hatter hadn't been to Norman since the 2002 season, I think. 2002. Let's see. When's the last time they played over there? I think 2004, I believe. I think it was 2000. Yeah, I think it was 2004. I'm trying to think back. She had 2003, 2004. It's one of those years. The last time the Mad Hatter was over there in Norman. Of course, he went to LSU in 2005 season. And he was 2-2. The Mad Hatter was 2-2 as he was the coach of Oklahoma State Cowboys, but different animal now as he's at Kansas. Kansas doesn't have much talent. Kansas State finished 3-9 last season. I mean, I really doubt that Les Miles will have any kind of success at Kansas. I'll be shocked if he even gives Kansas to a bowl game, honestly. Just a hard place to win. I know what Mangino had a lot of success at Kansas, but Les Miles, let's face it, he runs an inept offense. Still have doubts that he's going to run any kind of offense in the Big 12 that can compete for any kind of wins up there, but you never know. But Les Miles says he was going to do this and do that. LSU never did. Yeah, so no, it wouldn't look good for Kansas to win that one. Then they close out the year against Texas Tech. Texas Tech finished the year 4-8 last year, as Oklahoma closes their season out against Texas Tech. I mean, Texas Tech. I know they've had an up and down history with Kingsbury, with Mike Leach. Seems like every so often Texas Tech they come out with a good season, and then they just go back to being average 6-6, 5-7, something like that. So, I mean, look at the schedule here for Oklahoma. If you look at the schedule, where are the stumbling blocks? I mean, there's only a couple of, I think, that are stumbling blocks. Texas is obviously a stumbling block for them because I think Texas returns, of course, they return Sam Ellinger, so it's a rivalry game. That's always going to be a tough game for Oklahoma. There's a few on here that could be Tennessee. Tennessee. Like I said, Tennessee. You never know. You really don't know how Tennessee's going to be next season. Are they going to rebuild off that finish they had when they went 8-5? But I think Tennessee's still a few years. I think Tennessee's still a few years away, rebuilding their talent in order to compete with a team like Oklahoma. Then I said I said Ames, Iowa, at Iowa State. I don't think Oklahoma's going to lose at Ames, but could be a closer game. Like I said, Iowa State seems like they play teams tough in Ames, but not necessarily get the upset all the time. So, I mean, Oklahoma with this schedule, I mean, they should be right in the thick of things for the Big 12 title, assuming they can beat Texas. That's probably going to be their toughest game on the schedule. So yeah, look for Oklahoma to be right there in the mix at the end for that playoff spot, depending upon what their record is. You never know how the season's going to turn out for either team, but Yeah, so like I said, I think Oklahoma will have a very good year. They always seem to do. They're always right there in the mix at the end for the Big 12. Uh, so stumbling blocks, potential stumbling blocks is Tennessee, Texas, and then maybe at Iowa State. So, I mean, if they win two out of those three, they go 11-1, win the Big 12 title. They can be right there in the mix to go to the Sugar Bowl or the Sugar Bowl and the Rose Bowl. I believe there are the two spots for the playoffs next year. Hopefully we have fans for that, but that's remains to be seen. But have a great one, guys. If you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe, ring the notification bell, click all notifications, and give the video a thumbs up. And I will talk to you next time.